So there's a big debate that the DailyWire is involved in a big way. This provocateur, Hannah Pearl Davis, she's sometimes called the female Andrew Tate because she's kind of down on women. She disses women a lot. And she's been pointing out that feminists in the courts have ruined marriage and guys shouldn't get married. And Ben and Walsh and even Jeremy have all weighed in opposing her. And she works the way provocateurs work. They all make these extreme statements. Andrew Tate does this too. Nick Fuentes does it. And when they're attacked, when people say that's a really horrible thing to say, they explain their extreme statements away, and their followers pretend to believe the explanation while they really believe the extreme statements. So they say, women are stupid, and you say, well, that's a ridiculous thing to say. And then they say, well, what I meant by that is they don't always make the right decisions. And everybody says, see, he doesn't really mean that. But what they really think is that women are stupid. So Pearl has been complaining. She complained on Twitter that only young guys like marriage, and she called out Ben and Walsh and I think Jeremy. And somebody said, well, what about Klavan? And so I answered, I've been blissfully married for 43 years. My wife, of course, has been trying to escape, but I won't let her because it's been bliss for me. But I'm very cognizant that this is a special blessing in my life. I have a wonderful wife, truly. She gave me a home. She mothered our children. She nurtured my career. She believed in me when I had nothing. And she's the absolute love of my life. And that's not something I'm just saying. Truly, if I had the time that I have spent making love to that woman, if I had used it more productively, I would be an astrophysicist today, which I don't want to be. So it's actually fine. But not everyone gets to marry that kind of wife, and no one else can get the best wife because I've got her. So I kind of am a little bit hesitant to say, oh, yes, get married because it's a great thing. Now, Pearl's point, which I think she has a point when she gets to the explanation part, when she stopped provoking you. Some of the stuff she says has a point. She says that feminists have ruined marriage. She says a lot of marriages fail. She's put the number at like 50%, but it's been falling steadily. It's now around 40%. And for certain cohorts, it's much lower than that. But she points out that in divorce, men get killed by the courts and by divorce laws. Here's cut 7.
Many of these guys get so stressed out, they lose their jobs because or they have astronomical court fees, child support, all that shit. And a lot of guys will spend, the average guy makes what, $50K a year? Guys will spend $150K in court fees just to not get their kids. And the thing is, you can take money from a guy, but there is something about a man who is so desperate to see his child. Like, it is the saddest thing you have ever seen, where his child will be a mile from him and he hasn't seen him in 2 years.
So her point is that if 40% of marriages fail and then it's this misery because the courts destroy you, why would you even take that chance? Now, I myself have pointed out something else long before there was a Pearl Davis. Those old T-shirts that they have that says game over, and they'll have a cartoon and they'll show a happy bride and a frowning groom. And the point is that marriage is for women, not men. And when men are caught, these are a lot of old 40s songs are about this. Love is the tender trap, and making whoopee. You want to make whoopee, but you wind up washing dishes and baby clothes. And there's no reason not to take that complaint seriously. It wouldn't be a meme if it weren't an actual serious thing. Our form of marriage was invented by the Catholic Church to protect women. Feminists who say, oh, it was slavery. No, it was to protect women. And a man sacrifices his deep urge for freedom and sexual variety and sexual adventure and other kinds of adventure, so a woman can indulge her deep urge to have children in a protected and supported environment, with him supporting her and making sure she is all right. In return for that sacrifice, in the old days, each man received a little kingdom. I received a little kingdom when I got married. I got a family. I was the head of that family. I got respect. I got support for my professional work. And I was surrounded by a home which I would never have had. I would always have been a drifter if I hadn't fallen in love with the right woman. Pearl is right about this, that feminism has destroyed marriage in the sense that men are expected to sacrifice a freedom that is deeply important to them, not just sexual freedom, but it's the freedom to not know what they're going to be doing next or who they're going to be and not to be responsible to anybody. And they get absolutely nothing in return. And they might wind up with a not very nice wife, but you're basically, the woman is not expected to make a home, not expected to raise your children, not expected to support you in your career and sacrifice some of that so she can have what she wants, which is a family and children, because she's been told she doesn't want that. And she only realizes when it's too late that, yes, she does. I once asked my friend Liz Wheeler on this show, and I love Liz, and Liz is a very, very, very smart woman. I said to this to her, why should a man get married? And she gave a typical conservative response. I put her on the spot, so I'm not trying to be unfair to her. She's like very, very bright. But she said, well, marriage represents Christ's relationship with the church. And I thought, yeah, that's why I got married. I looked at my wife and thought, wow, she really looks like the church and makes me feel like Jesus, you know? No, that is nothing. That might have happened once. There might be someone who got married to represent Jesus. It's like a woman winning a sword fight. It might have happened at some point, but it doesn't happen, you know? I'll tell you something else. You know, there's a new book out. Melissa Kearney wrote about it. I talked about it before on the show, the TwoParent Privilege. 30% of American children are in single-parent homes. That's more than anywhere else on earth. And the results in terms of income, addiction, likelihood of going to prison are all bad. I've said this before in research. I've been to a lot of prisons, and you walk through cell after cell, past cell after cell, and other people say, well, look, each person is brown. And I think, never mind that. Each person is fatherless. That's the real truth about prisons. You're seeing one fatherless child after another. So Melissa Kearney has written this book, which everybody knows about, right? Everybody knows this is a huge problem, but nobody wants to admit it because she's in an academic environment, which means she's surrounded by liberals. And she has said in interviews that she had to worry about being perceived as socially conservative. Oh, no, you might be socially conservative. So she has framed her book in left-wing terms. Here is Kearney talking about it, cut 12.
What's happened to families in the U.S., and in particular, the rise in the share of kids living with one-parent households, how this has primarily happened outside the college-educated class. These trends are really important to what we're seeing with child poverty, inequality, undermining social mobility. And I just got to the point where I felt like we couldn't keep having these conversations about income inequality and threats to social mobility without taking up this issue of family structure, and in particular, the class divergence in family structure head on.
See, so she puts it in leftist terms. She says, ooh, class, privilege. The whole name of the book is that, the two-parent privilege. We don't want any privilege going around. This is, I'm glad she's saying this. Who was it? Jason Riley, the columnist for the Wall Street Journal, said she daringly states the obvious. But that's right, because she is talking about something, those three ugly words that no one in America or the media or anywhere is allowed to say. Conservatives are right. Conservatives are right. Because we're not just talking about two parents for a child. We're talking about the need for fathers. We're talking about the need for mothers to be at home. We're talking about the fact that mothers and fathers, not two men, not two women, not three people, we're talking about the fact that a mother and a father are the best way for children to be reared. We're talking about the fact that conservatives are right. And here is the whole thing about talking about marriage. If we're not going to be honest about it, then, and it's worthwhile, we can't save it. Because one of the other things I didn't think when I left my wife is, marrying this woman would be good for society, so I'm going to do that. I didn't think that at all. I didn't even think it would be good for me. I thought it was something I wanted to do. But because no one can say the words that conservatives are right, but no one can say the words that male-female marriage is the pinnacle of human relationship, that is basically what we've got going for us, the center of our society, we have to live in lies. And what happens when you live in lies is there are these invisible brick walls, and you keep bumping into them because nobody can say there's a brick wall. It's the emperor's brick wall, right? If nobody says, don't go that way because you're going to fall off the cliff, you go that way and then people fall off the cliff, and what happens? Everybody gets angry. And if that's not a description of the society we're in today, where, people like Pearl Davidson, again, she's a provocateur. She says stupid stuff. She says anti-Semitic stuff. I think she hung around with Nick Fuentes for a while. She got some of that poison in her. So she just says things that I think get her clicks and all this. But when you clear all that away, she is making a point that the institution of marriage, as it is conceived by the general society, as it's conceived by the media, as it's conceived by the government, as it's conceived by all the people who are doing all the talking, is not something that is necessarily appealing, especially for men. And so the men are sitting around going, why should I do this? And when you tell them, it's because it's Jesus' relationship with the church, or it's good for society, you're telling them absolutely nothing. For more great stuff like that, like and subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.